Hi folks, I wanted to do just a little quick video about one of the things that is definitely worrying most of us here, at least on the internet, which is AI and its basic takeover of not only YouTube, but honestly, the entertainment industry as a whole. And that seems to be almost an inevitability that we will have to face. Honestly, in doing everything that is somewhat creative, it definitely feels like AI is taking over. And honestly, we're kind of already seeing the beginning of that when it comes to like YouTube and TikTok, because if you go there, half of the content that at least is shown to me, or at least they're trying to push to me, is AI generative content with some Yetis and some AI, ASMR, and all that sort of bullshit. I've been doing YouTube for a little bit more than a year now, and I have to say that it has been pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie. The focus of my content is mostly on art, but specifically video games. And yeah, growing an audience is not easy. I mean, I think I've had a pretty good amount of success, generally speaking, but not like a resounding success by any means of the imagination when it comes to other channels. YouTube is already pretty hard to do because there's already a shit ton of content, and there's big YouTubers out there that essentially grab already that audience that you are trying to captivate from. Because at the end of the day, yeah, I want to grow my channel. I want to have an audience. I want to have like a sort of a small community, and I'm starting to build that, which is awesome. But it is a very hard industry at the very least right now, because one, you have big channels that eat up a big portion already of that community. Two, you have to face now AI generative content that is being pushed constantly, every day, every hour, in a rate that you cannot just accompany as a content creator like I am. Because yes, I'm real. I might not look like it. I might talk like an AI for some people, but I'm real. I swear. I don't know how to prove that. My issue right now with YouTube is like, and I have no way to prove this because this is mostly speculation, is that sometimes I feel like they're pushing AI content because it just makes sense to push AI content if you are YouTube. The objective of YouTube in the medium term, let's be real, is to push AI content fully. It is absolutely in their interest. Think about this. What does YouTube want? Money, okay, as a company. The thing that separates YouTube from money is the content creator. They depend on that content creator to create money. And even then, the money is split between the content creator and YouTube. And if you can take off the middleman and literally connect YouTube to money, why the hell wouldn't YouTube push for that? What they can essentially do in the future is build AI generative content in-house. They will not need content creators anymore. They will not need people like me. And the same will be true for many other industries, especially the film industry, unfortunately. The film industry is already in a very bad footing, if you ask me. Hollywood is pretty much done. And yeah, I don't think people realize how troublesome this is. I was watching actually this very short clip between Matt Walsh and Zachary Levi, where they talk about the role of AI and the potential ending of the film industry as we know it because of it. And the one thing that I didn't really saw them talking about is the big problem that, sure, me and you, if you're watching this, we are probably not used to AI. We don't like it. We're kind of in a rejection sort of phase of AI. It might be that until the end of our lives, we will have that mentality. But here's the problem. The newer generations that don't know anything, they are getting used to AI like it's bread. It's kind of like I'm not stupid. I've done art stuff in my life, and the one thing that I've noticed is in these days, in this generation, if you do a beautiful piece of art, there is a big chance that you're not going to get attention. But if you do a piece of art that is directed especially to newer generations, you might get a good amount of attention. And that is exactly what AI generative content is doing right now. It's doing a big push to the newer generations. It's trying to appeal to them. And when I say younger generation, I mean like the 18-year-olds and the teenagers, right? And kids even, right? There's like these shorts on YouTube that amassed over 300 million views about a pug rescuing a baby from like a plane crash or something. And it's just incredibly sloppy and boring and dumb. The amount of slop that is behind it is crazy. You're not acknowledging the work that people have done before. The whole copyright thing is a big issue. And on top of that, you don't actually know about art. You don't know what you're doing. If you try to recreate what you have done in any other medium, you would not be able to. Because all you did was type a paragraph and you called it a day. I don't think people realize that if the newer generations are going to get used to this, for them, it's just going to be the norm. This is just going to be the new normal, and that will be fine for them. They will not look at AI like you and I are looking at it. Right now, we're looking at it and thinking, this makes no sense. Like on an ethical base, it doesn't make sense, right? Especially when it comes to AI generative content of art. That's what I'm talking about specifically here, because AI is definitely a great tool that I even use in my daily basis. ChatGPT is a massive example. There's a company in Portugal called Sword Health that is focusing on bringing AI into the health industry. And the amount of things that AI can do there is honestly phenomenal. If we can extend multiple health services to the world and to people that do not have normal access to them, why wouldn't you push for that? But when it comes to AI generative content for people to watch as an entertainment business, I think there needs to be a real conversation about this that will unfortunately never happen, because these companies do not give a damn about ethics. They care about money solely. My biggest concern is honestly the dumbification of the content that we are kind of already seeing in the last couple of years. Because if these companies can just basically grab everything from every movie out there without even concerns about copyright infringements, they will absolutely nail every sort of scene that you have ever seen in the video game industry, in the movie industry, in the music industry, whatever. And so it kind of ends up being like, where do we go? Where do we content creators, where do we movie makers and artists go? I guess we go to the real world again, right? I guess theater might be something that appeals to people once again. Or maybe not. Maybe people just stay at home in the comfort of their house to watch some of the worst and dumb content that I've seen in recent years. Maybe that's it. Look, I've said before in some live streams, and I'll say it here in this video, I like to think deeply about things that I like and that I don't like. But at the same time, I understand that I am absolutely shallow. Right? Like, I like dumb content sometimes, and I'm very okay with that chaotic nature of mine. But I feel like the internet has become a space where people only really care about money, where there is a complete dumbification of the content. And to be dead honest, there is no clear solution to this. The solution that I'm seeing needs to come from governments. And to be honest, governments right now are really not accompanying this at all. The only thing that I'm seeing, at least from the European Union, which is the one that I'm mostly aware of because I'm from Europe. So this is the EU AI Act, which was the first regulation on artificial intelligence that we had here in Europe, that was published back in 2023. And this was, from what I am understanding, the main cause of a lot of people and even prime ministers to call out for a pause of EU AI rules. If we go and check Mario Draghi's overall report on the competitiveness of Europe, we see this. 3 transformations ahead for Europe. Europe now faces 3 major transformations, the first of which is the need to accelerate innovation and find new growth engines. The EU competitiveness is currently being squeezed from 2 sides. On one side, EU companies are facing weaker foreign demand, especially from China, and rising competitive pressures from Chinese companies. Europe urgently needs to accelerate its rate of innovation, both to maintain its manufacturing leadership and to develop new breakthrough technologies. Faster innovation will in turn help raise the EU's productivity growth, leading to stronger growth in household incomes and stronger domestic demand. Europe still has the opportunity to change track, with the world now on the cusp of another digital revolution triggered by the spread of artificial intelligence. A window has opened for Europe to redress its failings in innovation and productivity and to restore its manufacturing potential. Taking this into account, this regulation is basically being abandoned. And as you can see here from this techpolicy.press article, the European Commission invites stakeholders to identify regulatory challenges and propose measures to facilitate compliance and potentially simplify the AI Act, paving the way for further deregulatory efforts. I mean, there's even this news about how EU Commission is pausing AI Act's entry into application. So what the hell does this all mean? EU tried to implement a bunch of very generic, very broad sort of ideas in the first sort of regulation of AI, but it's soon becoming very clear to Europe that if it does that, it does not allow companies within Europe to fight against some of its biggest enemies that are outside of Europe. If there is no regulation in countries like China, Russia, even the United States, why would Europe want that regulation and be behind and lose its competitive relevance in the market? That would mean disaster for Europe. And unfortunately, just like global warming and the climate change, it is not going to be AI that is going to change the mentality of most of these countries into coming into terms with one another and reach to an agreement about how we should regulate AI. That is just never going to happen. Unfortunately, humanity has always had the same issue. It always wants to force their own reality to people. At the end of the day, humanity is like a spiral, right? Like it does constantly the same mistakes, just in slightly different manners. And unfortunately, first it was nuclear weapons, then it was climate change, and now it's going to be AI. And what will happen to the future of humanity? I don't know. But if a lot of jobs are basically taken off from this industry, and then that industry, and then this industry, and then a bunch of industries do not really need people anymore, or they need a lot less people, what the hell are we doing here? I guess we, at the end of the day, become just like Sam Porter from Dead Stranding, right? We're just going to make deliveries all the time, I guess. The more I think about this, the whole thing with AI, I just don't think we fully realize how big of an issue this is for humanity as a whole, man. Humanity has been switching very slowly but steady to a mentality that is not about unity, that it's not about the community anymore, but it's rather about the individual. I mean, it's been that way for a while now, but it's becoming even more exacerbating. And even though I do believe that humans at their core are very individualistic out of probably necessity, I do think that there is space and there should be space for unity. But I don't know, man. I feel like we might be losing that. And AI is not helping. That's for sure. I don't know. These were just a bunch of random ideas from my end. Maybe I didn't say anything new, and that's okay. And yeah, let me know what you think. That's it from me. Over and out.